In the quiet suburbs of Ohio, a deadly plot was unfolding, one that would tear apart a family and send shockwaves across the nation. A bitter custody battle spiraled into a calculated, cold-blooded murder, involving a powerful elephant tranquilizer, a hidden affair, and an unthinkable betrayal from those closest to the victim. This is the story of Timothy Havnick, a loving father and a dedicated State Department employee who never imagined the danger lurking just outside his home, orchestrated by his ex-wife, her lover, and even his former mother-in-law. Captured on a chilling dashcam, this brutal crime seemed like the perfect plot, until one overlooked piece of evidence shattered their plans. Now, in this gripping episode, we take you inside the shocking details of a mother's betrayal, the murder of Timothy Havnick, a case that reveals the darkest side of family dynamics and obsession. If you're fascinated by true crime stories that uncover the unexpected and the unimaginable, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We dive deep into high-profile and under-the-radar cases every week, bringing you the truth behind the headlines. Timothy Havnick lived a life of quiet dedication. A brilliant researcher for the U.S. State Department, his work involved top-secret projects that sent him around the world, including an assignment in South Africa. But while his professional life thrived, his personal life was unraveling. His marriage to Amanda Havnick had been in freefall for years, and the couple had finally decided to divorce in 2020. They shared 3 daughters, and the custody battle that followed the divorce became a vicious, drawn-out affair. Amanda had always been a complicated figure. In public, she was the image of a caring mother devoted to her children. But behind closed doors, she was manipulative and volatile. Her resentment toward Timothy began to simmer, and by 2021, she had decided that she would not be satisfied with simply sharing custody of their children. She wanted full control. As the court proceedings dragged on, Amanda became more and more frustrated. Timothy was a good father, and the court often ruled in his favor. This only deepened her anger. In 2022, the court dealt Amanda what she saw as the ultimate betrayal. A judge ruled that Timothy would be granted full custody of their daughters for the entire summer, a decision that sent Amanda into a downward spiral. For her, this was not just about losing time with her children. It was about losing control over her life and their future. The hatred she felt toward Timothy consumed her, and she began to plan something far darker than a simple custody battle. Unknown to Timothy, Amanda had rekindled an affair with a man named Anthony Theodoro, a South African native she had met during their time in South Africa. Anthony, a man with his own troubled past, became deeply involved in Amanda's plot to take Timothy out of the picture permanently. Amanda, Anthony, and Amanda's mother, Anita Green, would soon conspire to murder Timothy in cold blood. Amanda had been planning Timothy's murder for nearly a year, but it wasn't until the custody ruling that she put her plan into motion. Her partner in this deadly conspiracy was Anthony, who was more than willing to help Amanda execute her twisted desires. The two of them had grown closer after Amanda's divorce, and their bond was strengthened by their shared hatred for Timothy. Anthony, who still lived in South Africa, was instrumental in procuring the weapon they would use to carry out the murder, a potent animal tranquilizer known as M99. M99 is a substance so powerful that it is used to tranquilize large game animals such as elephants and rhinos. It is 1,000 times more potent than morphine, and in the wrong hands, it can be fatal to humans within minutes. Anthony, using his connections in South Africa, managed to obtain a vial of M99 from a veterinarian. He then smuggled it into the United States, hidden inside a piece of jewelry. By February 2022, Amanda had the tranquilizer in her possession, and the plan to kill Timothy was set in motion. Amanda's mother, Anita, was fully complicit in the scheme. Whether out of blind loyalty to her daughter or a shared resentment toward Timothy, Anita agreed to help in any way she could. The three of them discussed the murder in detail, going over every possible scenario to ensure they would not be caught. Anthony flew to the United States in April, and together, they began preparing for the day they would end Timothy's life. One of the first steps was to dig Timothy's grave. A secluded piece of land that had once belonged to Amanda's grandfather was chosen as the burial site. It was deep in the woods, far from prying eyes, and the perfect place to hide a body. They dug a hole large enough to bury Timothy, ensuring that it was ready when the time came. April 24th, 2022 began like any other day for Timothy. He had just spent a weekend with his daughters, taking them swimming and playing with them at his hotel in Ohio. It had been a joyful weekend, one that Timothy had been looking forward to for weeks. He knew that his time with the girls was limited due to the ongoing custody battle, and he cherished every moment he could spend with them. As he packed up the car and drove to Amanda's house to drop off the girls, Timothy had no idea that he was walking into a trap. Amanda had spent months preparing for this day, and everything was in place. When Timothy pulled into the driveway, Amanda greeted him with a smile, pretending that everything was normal. She told the girls that she had a surprise for them inside the house, urging them to go in quickly. Timothy, unaware of the danger lurking around him, began unloading the children's car seats from the vehicle. What happened next was captured on the dash camera of Timothy's car, a crucial piece of evidence that Amanda would later overlook in her rush to cover her tracks. As Timothy turned to face Amanda, she approached him with a syringe of M99 hidden in her hand. Without warning, she injected him with a lethal dose of the tranquilizer. Timothy was stunned, confused, and disoriented. "What the heck are you doing?" he yelled. "Did you just assault me?" Amanda remained silent, watching as the drug began to take effect. Timothy's strength quickly faded, and within seconds, he collapsed to the ground. His phone, which he had tried to reach for, lay just out of his grasp. Amanda knocked it aside, ensuring that he couldn't call for help. She then pulled him onto his back, watching as his body went limp. Timothy Havnick, a father, a son, a brother, and a loyal public servant, was dead within minutes. With Timothy dead, Amanda had to move quickly to dispose of the evidence. She turned off Timothy's car, unaware that the dash camera had captured the entire murder. She then called for her accomplices, Anthony and Anita, to help with the next stage of the plan. Together, they wrapped Timothy's body in plastic and placed him in the trunk of Amanda's car. The three of them drove to the burial site they had prepared in the woods. It was a secluded spot, and the hole they had dug days earlier was ready to receive Timothy's body. They worked quickly, covering the grave with soil and debris, hoping that it would be hidden from any potential search efforts. To them, it seemed like a perfect crime, clean, calculated, and without a trace. But there was still one loose end to tie up. Timothy's car had to be relocated to make it look as though he had simply disappeared. Amanda and Anthony wiped down the vehicle to remove any fingerprints or DNA evidence. They removed the license plates and abandoned the car in Dayton, Ohio, far from Amanda's home. With the car abandoned and Timothy's body buried, they believed they had covered their tracks. However, their plan was far from perfect. The dash camera in Timothy's car, which had been recording the entire time, was still intact. This single oversight would soon unravel their carefully laid plans. When Timothy failed to return to his hotel and didn't show up for work the next day, his colleagues and family became concerned. He had always been reliable, and his sudden disappearance was out of character. Local authorities were contacted, and given Timothy's position in the State Department, the FBI was brought in to investigate. At first, investigators considered a range of possibilities. Timothy's work involved sensitive government projects, and there were fears that his disappearance could be related to national security. But as the investigation progressed, it became clear that something more personal was at play. It wasn't long before investigators located Timothy's abandoned car in Dayton. The missing license plates and wiped-down interior raised immediate red flags. However, when they accessed the dash camera footage, they were shocked by what they found. The entire murder, Amanda's approach, the injection, Timothy's collapse, had been captured in clear detail. The footage showed Amanda knocking Timothy's phone out of his hand and turning off the car, unaware that she was being recorded the entire time. With this damning evidence in hand, the FBI quickly turned their attention to Amanda. She, along with Anthony and Anita, was arrested within days of the discovery of Timothy's body. At first, all three denied any involvement in Timothy's disappearance. But faced with the overwhelming evidence from the dash camera, Amanda eventually confessed to the crime. The media frenzy surrounding the case was immediate and intense. A mother, a grandmother, and a lover conspiring to kill a father in cold blood. This was not just a family tragedy. It was a story that captivated the nation. The trial was swift, given the irrefutable evidence, and all three were convicted for their roles in Timothy's murder. Amanda pleaded guilty to her involvement in the murder and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Her mother, Anita, received a 10-year sentence for her role as an accomplice, while Anthony was sentenced to 18 years for his participation in the plot. Though Anthony cooperated with the investigation, leading authorities to Timothy's grave, it did little to absolve him of his role in the crime. For Timothy's family, the trial and convictions brought some measure of closure, but the emotional scars left by the murder would never fully heal. Timothy's daughters, now orphans in many ways, were left to grapple with the knowledge that their mother had taken their father's life. The lives of everyone touched by this crime would be forever changed. Chapter 7. Aftermath and Reflection. In the aftermath of the trial, questions remained about how a family could become so fractured that murder seemed like the only solution. Amanda's actions were driven by a deep, obsessive need for control, one that consumed her to the point of no return. But beyond Amanda's personal motivations, the involvement of her mother and her lover in the crime raised even more disturbing questions about loyalty, family, and the ease with which people can be drawn into darkness. For Timothy's colleagues at the State Department, his death was a shocking and tragic loss. He had been a dedicated public servant, and his murder was not only a personal tragedy, but also a loss for the country he had served. The impact of his death reverberated through both his family and his professional community. The case of Timothy Havnick's murder serves as a chilling reminder of the depths to which human cruelty can sink. It also highlights the importance of justice and the need for those responsible for such heinous acts to be held accountable. Though Timothy's life was cut tragically short, his memory lives on in the hearts of those who loved him, and the justice system ensured that those who conspired to take his life would face the consequences of their actions.